I suspect that most local theater-goers have never heard of the Heir Apparent or Jean-François Regnard, the 18th century playwright whose farce is the basis for the current offering at St. Louis Shakespeare. But don't let a lack of familiarity keep you away. The Heir Apparent may be the funniest farce you've never heard of. I wrote something similar 2 years ago when St. Louis Shakespeare presented The Liar, and that's not a coincidence. Both plays are adaptations of classic French comedies by the brilliant American playwright David Ives for the Shakespeare Theatre Company in Washington, D.C. Like The Liar, The Heir Apparent is part translation and part adaptation. A translaptation, to use Ives' own word, he borrowed the framework of the original, but took more liberties than a translator would to make the plot, the characters, and the ending more accessible and acceptable to modern audiences. Ives retains the rhymed iambic pentameter of the original French in English verse that is always lively, modern, and brilliant. Consider this description of one of the characters, Madame Argante. She whom the Prince of Darkness couldn't daunt, she next to whom a rock looks nonchalant, who makes Godzilla seem a mad bacchant, to whom Attila is a dilettante. And how can you not laugh when venomous rhymes with enemas, which is by no means the only joke about bodily fluids and functions. The action takes place in early 18th century Paris, where the marriage of Eraste and Isabelle faces implacable opposition from her mother, the aforementioned Madame Argante, unless Eraste can prove he will inherit the estate of his rich uncle Geronte. The young lover's hopes are dashed when Geronte decides to marry Isabelle himself. Fortunately, Eraste has a crafty servant named Crispin, who begins to run interference for his master by impersonating meddlesome relatives of Geronte to eliminate them as rival heirs. One of them is an American with an extraordinary piece of headgear. When Geronte's lawyer arrives to draw up the will, Crispin must pretend to be Geronte himself under very trying circumstances. As Crispin, Isaiah DiLorenzo attacks these impersonations with maniacal glee. He is ably abetted by the delightful Brittany Henry as the other servant, Lizette. Scott McDonald as Eraste and Janetta Perkins as Isabelle are likable but not entirely sympathetic. That's a good choice by the actors and their director, Donna Northcott. We hope the young lovers will succeed, but we don't mind seeing them roughed up a bit along the way. The part of Scruple, the lawyer, brings Anthony Winninger to his knees hilariously. I can see a part in Shrek the Musical in Winninger's future. Remember those lines of verse I read about Madame Argante? Margot Steinau lives up to the billing. Shane Signorino's hearty portrayal of Geronte is lots of fun and prepares the way well for Crispin's impersonation of Geronte. One of the most fully realized settings I can recall at St. Louis Shakespeare results from the combination of Michelle Seiler's costumes, James Spurlock's lighting, Ted Drury's sound, and Chuck Winning's set, which nicely facilitates the high-speed action required by the script. The Heir Apparent isn't just another pretty farce. It's thoroughly delightful.
You liked it more than I did, although I did like it quite a bit, but I thought the first act was too rushed, and I thought a couple of the characters were too broadly played, even for a farce.
Well, I thought it was thoroughly delightful. Hey, thanks for watching. Click here to subscribe and check us out on Facebook. The link is below.